Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Good evening, friends. Welcome back to Kardec Radio. A big hug to everyone who may be watching live and to those who may be watching later on demand. Welcome. This is the Prayer for Peace program, and my name is Teresa Castro, and I am the host for the Sunday 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So it's so good to be here again. Wow, a whole week has gone by, and it's always a good time to pray, and especially for peace in these really, really challenging times. So today, before our prayer, our short message comes from the book Minutes of Wisdom. And we know that although this is not a true spiritist book, the book is by Carlos Torres Pastorino, and he was a Catholic priest. However, he supported Spiritism, and I don't know if he came to consider himself a Spiritist. That I'm not completely sure, but he did much in the way of disseminating Spiritism. So, and one of them is this little daily reader book, and it's very well known among Spiritists, especially in Brazil. And it has not yet been translated. So this message I am reading today is from chapter 47, and it has been translated, but the book as a whole has not. So this is what Carlos would like to tell us. And this book is written by Carlos, so it is not a psychograph book in the sense there is not a medium. Well, we're all mediums, but like the Andre Louise with Chico Xavier and Emmanuel, it is not that type of book. I'm sure he was inspired, but it is written by Carlos Torres Pastorino, and he has passed. He is a discarnate. So here's what he has to tell us. Again, it's out of chapter 47. Love and joy are the basic elements for making and keeping friends. And they are also essential for our peace of mind. Show love and joy at every opportunity, and see that peace is born within you. Happiness cannot be found in anything outside of you. Seek it within yourself, for happiness is God, and God lives within you. What a beautiful, uplifting message. So we can really see why this book is so popular and come to understand the good work that Carlos Torres Pastorino did as an incarnate. I'm sure he continues to still do work. So he starts out by telling us that love and joy are basic elements for making and keeping friends. And he goes on to say that they're also essential for our peace of mind. And we know even, as a child is born, if it does not receive that affection, holding, cuddling, interaction, that human interaction, that it will fail to thrive. So it is essential. It's not just might be a good idea, or it's nice to do this, but it is actually essential. And he says, that we should show love and joy at every opportunity. And this is like, wow, it's easily said. And, we think, okay. But this can be very challenging when we are faced with opposition, when we are faced with slander, when we are faced with disagreement, conflict. I mean, this can become very difficult to keep our footing. I've always appreciated when in the Gospel according to Spiritism, that codified by Allan Kardec, We are told in the chapter under Love Your Enemies is that we, it is not that same love that we might have for a beloved, our partner, our immediate family, our children. I mean, sometimes we love neighbors and strangers more than our intimate family. So, but my point is, what I think that we should remember is when we hear this, show love and joy at every opportunity, we cannot have that same level of love. But let us remember, in chapter 15, there is no salvation without charity. Paul, the Apostle Paul, is quick to point out that charity comes from the word caritas, which comes from the word love. And so, and we know that charity is not just physical in giving materials, although that's acceptable as well, but it is that indulgence, overlooking another person's imperfections. It is forgiveness, remembering that if we haven't done something similar or something exactly like someone else, we've probably done something similar. And so none of us can really throw the first stone. And then lastly, well, not lastly, but also is goodwill. And I think this is the aspect, if we can say it that way, of love that we're honing in here when Carlos is telling us to show love and joy at every opportunity, because that idea that we're, going to be this like, oh, I'm so in love, feeling this vibrant, that's not realistic. But we can have goodwill. And what is goodwill? It is not wishing ill will, bad things for other people. No, I'm probably, perhaps I'm not the first on their lunch list and they're not on mine. However, I can have a mutual respect and respect and kindness, and not because sometimes we can say, well, I didn't do anything, I didn't say anything, but all the while I'm thinking, oh gosh, I hope, blah, 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 just whatever negativity you can put in there. So I think this is what Carlos is reminding us, that we can have goodwill. It doesn't mean that we're going to love someone so intimately or so affectionately at every opportunity, but we can have goodwill. And it's always good to remember, if I can practice more indulgence, there will be less need for forgiveness. And this is challenging in our times when competitiveness and aggressions are so high. We have not yet, as a whole, I'm not going to, say all of us, because of course, those of us who study Spiritism know otherwise and practice and live Spiritism, we know otherwise, that we are more than just our body. But if I only think this is it, then I've got to, get it while I can. I've got to beat the other person, because then, what am I? The hole in the donut. So Spiritism is a great educator and consoler in that sense of bringing this information to understand I'm an immortal soul, and that I've lived many times, and perhaps I will live many more times incarnate and into the earth or other worlds. So, and he says, when we show this love and joy, then we feel peaceful. And it's so true. When we're able to rise above a situation, it's a good feeling to walk away and be like, oh, I'm so glad I wasn't nasty back to that person, or, be sarcastic, or let them know how I think, or I have to get the last word in. We can really walk away. And where's this coming from? It's our conscience, because it's clear. We don't have that voice saying, that wasn't too good. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. And so we get to feel that peace. And then he's just reminding us that, it can't be found outside of ourselves. And what is he alluding to? He's alluding to this eternal happiness, this eternal peace, this true peace, this absolute happiness that, because we know there are temporary pleasures that we can indulge in, but they don't really, they don't last. They don't really do it for us, so to speak. They're temporary. And there are the major categories of power, money, youth, health, and beauty. So these things are temporarily earthly pleasures, accomplishments, if you want to call them that way, loans to us. But the important thing is, what do we do with this beauty? What do we do with this health? What do we do with the power? What do we do with our money? So he reminds us that we should seek it within ourselves, because God is happiness. God is peace. And he says God lives within us. We all know that we carry that spark of light of the divine within us. And so we can grow that light. And, he reminds us that, so we seek this within ourselves because people, places, and things will disappoint us. There are those temporary gratification. They're also imperfect. People, places, and things on the material earth they're not perfect. So why do we demand perfection? Why do we? Because we're all imperfect. So it's a good reminder that to go within. And how do we do this? We sit in silence. We can meditate. We can pray. We can journal. We can write gratitude lists. We can do the nightly review as suggested by St. Augustine in the Gospel according to Spiritism. So it's a beautiful message, very simple and direct and to the point. And so we thank you, Carlos Torres Pastorino. And I invite you now to close your eyes and join me in a prayer for peace. Mother, Father, God, divine creator, first cause of all things, we bring ourselves to this prayer moment, this moment where we focus our attention and our energy on peace. This peace that we accept begins within. And with our goodwill, we ask that all our brothers and sisters, we include ourselves, to be recipient of this peace reigning over the whole earth, saturating every nook and cranny, all hearts, all countries, all religions, all politics, all levels of financial status. And we pray that we may be receptive and recognizing you, freeing ourselves from earthly demands and conditionings, expectations. And with the support of the good spirits and all those messengers you have sent our way, let us take their recommendations, their instructions, their suggestions for how we can navigate in this chaotic, challenging, and sometimes just downright sad place. And we thank Allan Kardec and all the good spirits who have brought Spiritism to us as great consolation, that we may, through all this darkness and hypocrisy, slander, outright lies, let us look for you. Allowing Jesus' gospel of truth to be our guiding star. We thank you, we love you, we sing hosannas in your name. Blessed be, blessed be, blessed be. And now, with your permission and protection, we humbly close today's prayer. And so be it. So it is. Thank you so much for joining. I look forward to seeing you all next week. Let us take this message with us, if not for 24 hours, for the next couple hours, and let it wash over us the idea of the essential need for love and joy in our lives. And let us be willing to expand that idea of love to include all, those we like, those we adore, those we don't like so much, those that don't like us so much. Let us include all. And especially, let's do something nice for somebody else. Many blessings, dear friends, and I look forward to meeting with you next week.